The weight of destiny shifts in the shadows of trades and untold potential. And tonight, Dub Nation, the chessboard rearranges beneath our very feet. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. The Boston Celtics, fresh off their 2024 NBA championship glory, have just dropped a bombshell on the basketball landscape by officially trading 22-year-old guard R.J. Leash Jr. from the Utah Jazz, a move that's sending ripples from the green courts of Boston all the way to the Golden State hardwoods where our Warriors reign. This deal Georgia's Niang and 2 future second-round picks heading to Utah in exchange for the young, unheralded Leash Jr. is far from a simple swap. It's a strategic masterstroke laced with salary cap machinations that cut through Celtics payroll and luxury tax obligations like a well-aimed splash from Curry at the buzzer. Consider this Leash Jr., an undrafted prospect who carved his path through Massachusetts and St. John's, averaged a solid 18.2 points, 7.2 boards, and 2 assists last season, with a respectable 43.9% shooting from the floor and a 33.6% mark. Beyond the arc, revealing a raw weapon that Boston hopes will bloom in a system hungry for depth and intrigue. But here's the twist that many missed in the post-trade. Headlines the Celtics move was as much about financial strategy as it was about player acquisition. Yossi Goslin's Insider Hall from the Third Apron podcast exposed that backroom chess game clearly. Swapping out Niang saved Boston $50 million in payroll and shaved their luxury tax exposure down to barely $1.7 million above the apron line, while creating a juicy $8.2 million trade exception, setting Celtics brass up with cap flexibility for moves that chase the future without mortgaging the past. How does this resonate through the Warriors' domain? With Golden State's core of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson navigating their post-dynasty era, scouting whispers suggest that Leash Jr. could be a tantalizing addition. Young, versatile guard with size and stat lines that echo the promise of splash. Era role players who blossom when given the chance to electrify the Chase Center crowd. But the deeper question lingers. Is this a quietly explosive trade signaling that the Celtics are streamlined toward a new identity that might wrestle the conference narrative away from us? Or does this herald a fracturing within Boston's roster that the Warriors could exploit with a sharp rebirth led by Kuminga and Moody? R.J. Leash Jr., after all, signed a humble 2-way deal post-2025 draft, a fact that makes this sudden acquisition even more cinematic, a story of the overlooked, rising while the storied franchises play their financial opera. Yet the pulse of the deal throbs with uncertainty. Jake Fisher from the Stein line revealed that the second-round picks Boston surrendered are the most favorable from their swap deals with Magic and Cavaliers, indicating the Celtics are betting on a high ceiling for Leash Jr. over flexible assets, a gamble that could either crown their next chapter or unravel under pressure. Remember, just months ago, these very Celtics claustrophobic, under their own brilliance, watched their season unravel in agonizing fashion at the hands of Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. A second-round exit that felt like salt in an already gaping wound. That loss laid bare the fissures beneath Boston's championship veneer. An offense that sputtered when the pressure mounted, a front court that buckled against relentless drives, and a roster built more for past glories than future battles. Brad Stevens, once again shuffling the deck, cut loose seasoned veterans like Shake Milton and Aaron Yang, players whose grit and savvy felt indispensable only to bring in fresh legs and hollow-eyed ambition in the form of R.J. Leash Jr., a rising wing whose contested three accuracy and defensive versatility have pundits dreaming of a Cinderella run. Are we, then, on the brink of a Phoenix-like rebirth in the Bay State, or merely rearranging the furniture on a ship taking on water? Think back to the summer carousel of 2022, when Boston added Malcolm Brogdon and Drew Holiday under the guise of title or bust, only to see chemistry evaporate faster than expectation. They banked on veterans who could close out games only to falter in the face of youth movement piranhas like the Nuggets and the Mavericks. Now, they're trading. Proven character for untested upside, recalibrating the balance between experience and athleticism. It's as if Stevens is channeling a high-stakes poker player, folding pocket kings for a shot at a straight flush, betting the farm on a 23-year-old whose biggest stage so far has been the slam dunk contest of college highlight reels. Is this a masterstroke, an audacious pivot toward long-term dynastic stability, or a panic-driven ploy that risks making the Celtics a cautionary tale of hubris? Meanwhile, on the opposite shore, the Warriors stand as a study in controlled volatility. Stephen Curry still raining threes with surgical precision, Klay Thompson's corner catch-and-shoot as reliable as sunrise, and Draymond Green's chameleon defense morphing intrepidly to plug every crack. They've tempered their title window with incremental upgrades, Kevin Looney's hush grunt in the paint, Jonathan Kuminga's raw length peeling off the bench, and now watch idly as Boston tinkers from afar. Could this be the beginning of an epic modern rematch, a saga where the Splash Brothers' swan songs echo against the roar of a reinvigorated TD Garden? Or is the real story the undercurrents of cap space strategy, where Boston's maneuvering paves the way for a seismic blockbuster trade, perhaps dangling stars to clear room for a generational talent yet unnamed? My pulse races writing this, because as any Dub Nation loyalist knows, volatility is our lifeblood. Recall the trembling anticipation of the 2015 playoffs, when Kerr's small ball experiment toppled the clipboard-carving conformity of traditional lineups and unleashed a new era in basketball geometry. Every possession became an exercise in brinkmanship, every shot a high-wire act. Could R.J. Lease Jr. be the clandestine spark that reignites Boston's flames? Or is he a red herring, bait for rival G-Miz to pounce on a misstep, to wrest control of a conference once dominated by the green and white? As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, I straddle thrill and dread. Will this seismic shuffle rewrite the league's power script, or demarcate the slow fissure in Boston's facade, ensuring they hover perpetually on the cusp of greatness, but never quite sealing the deal? Will the Celtics' newfound athleticism coalesce into a coherent identity switching defenses that rattle the stars, backdoor cuts that confound static rotations, bench scoring that silences hostile crowds? Or might the absence of veteran, calm in late-game situations transform every closeout into a funeral march, each missed free throw a nail in the coffin of their championship aspirations? The future blazes with promise bright, yet unformed, shimmering in mirages of what-ifs and could-bests, and I need your unfiltered takes. Does this trade foreshadow an uneasy alliance of youth and cap strategy that destabilizes the Celtics, reducing them to a patchwork of raw talent? Or is it the quiet before Boston's storm, safer in the long run and deadlier than ever, primed to ambush the complacent Warriors on the road to the finals? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand, riding this wave with every beat as we watch history write itself one shuddering trade at a time. If your pulse just sped up imagining Kuminga or Moody locking down R.J. Lease Jr. on a razor-thin fourth-quarter possession, I want to hear you roar back in the comments right now, because this isn't some mid-season hiccup or business as usual. This is war unfolding in real time, a battle of futures where every cap dollar, every roster tweak mugs the silence with the thrum of destiny. Listen, this trade is a grenade lobbed into the midst of the Eastern Conference's armor, but more importantly, it's a flare shot into the heart of Dub Nation's reckoning. Steph Curry, our human torch, the eternal architect of Splash, has been carrying the weight of a legacy that no one alive has fully grasped. And with this new chess move from Boston, that pressure might just tip into a feedback loop of chaos. Can Steph still be the invincible maestro, the man whose shot recalibrates space and time with every flick of the wrist? Once Boston are now with Luis Jr.'s youth and the Celtics' financial cunning finds a rhythm that disrupts the Warriors' carefully calibrated balance? It's not just about a rookie or some potential role player stepping into Beacon Hill's storied shadows. This trade signals a seismic shift where analytics meet grit meet desperation, and every possession suddenly looks like a thin line between rebirth and collapse. Ask yourselves, how does this echo through our locker room? Draymond, still the defensive anchor and sometimes emotional compass of this team, is staring down the dusk of his prime and the quiet horrors of a roster that feels caught in limbo, too old to lean entirely on youth, too young to shed the ghost of those 5 straight finals nights spent both lighting up and breaking down. Then there's Clay, three-point sniper, silent assassin, whose eyes might be searching for not just his shot, but for a new team identity, a clarity amid the noise. And Kuminga and Moody, those two are our wild cards, the reckless hope and raw energy brewed from draft night dreams, but now forced to sprint through a minefield of expectations, contracts, and legacy. How do they pivot when a player like Leash Jr., with his blend of youth and savvy, suddenly appears on a rival's wing, hungry to shred the playbook that kept Boston relevant, but now looks primed to be rewritten? Kerr's brain, legendary 4. Molding lineups that morph and strike with deadly precision, faces a puzzle that could splinter the squad or forge it anew. But this isn't just a chess game for the coach. This is a crucible. Every meeting, every film session feels less about learning and more about survival. What if the Celtics' quietly sculpted salary cap flexibility becomes the trigger for a chain reaction, a signing, a blockbuster, a superstar chase that fractures the conference landscape for a decade? The whispers through the league are growing louder. Boston's not just rebuilding, they're reloading for war, recalibrating a formula that once dazzled yet faltered just shy of immortality. And that gamble trading known veterans, betting on unproven yet tantalizing skill and cap wizardry, it threatens to append what we all thought the narrative was. The Warriors, the once untouchable dynasty forged in the fires of relentless shooting, an ironclad defense, might find their window shrinking faster than any of us dared to admit. The Chase Center, that cathedral of splash, has never seemed quieter on draft night or more restless on trade deadline eve. The buzz is not just speculation. It's a goddamn storm about to break beneath our feet. Imagine the fevered locker room. Discussions, the lockdown hallways where Steph debates with Draymond about legacy and relevance, where Wiggins wonders if his role remains one of the architects of revival or sacrificial lamb. This is the pressure cooker where every move off the court weighs as heavily as every clutch moment on it. And it hits home so damn hard because as someone who has bled blue and gold through every diabolical twist, the injuries, the doubters, the parades and heartbreaks, I can feel the tectonic plates shifting beneath our feet. Something's coming, Dub Nation. Something that's going to separate the fighters from the flash in the pans, the myth from the mortal. R.J. Leash Jr. is not just a player. He's a signal flare, the canary in the coal mine, announcing that Boston believes the age of splash is morphing into something rawer, hungrier, and maybe even more patient. But here's the heart-rending beauty of it all. The Warriors were built on defying odds, on spells that made you believe in miracle after miracle. Could this challenge, this new way Boston is stirring, be the spark the Warriors need to carve a fresh legacy? Could Curry's shot, already immortal, find a new dimension? Could Kuminga and Moody grow into relentless forces that remind the league-wide Golden State's heartbeat still echoes loudest? Or will this be the beginning of the unraveling, a slow fade from kings to contenders, token defenders of a past era? I'm here staring down every scenario, furious with hope and tinged with fear, because this moment demands more than fandom. It demands devotion, analysis, raw, untamed emotion. So now I'm calling on you, the real Dub Nation, the ride or die crew who knows every buzzer beater, every hard foul, every late game steal like the back of your hand. Drop your hottest, unfiltered takes below. Tell me if you see the storm clearing in our favor, or if these Celtics moves are the first buckle in our dynasty's armor. No fear, no sugarcoating. I'm ready with receipts, ready to debate, ready to ride this wildfire with every ounce of Passion that's made Golden State more than a team. It's a family, a legacy, and damn well a revolution in the making. Let's light this up, Dub Nation, because the next chapter is being written right now, and every word, every play, every trade is ours to own.